Yes. Are we recording? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. We recording. Shower thoughts. Shower thoughts. I realized today that I have an attitude against certain government-led systems, and I don't even know that much about them. You ever heard somebody say, is it possible to not like somebody when you ain't never met them? Or is it possible not to just like somebody even though you only spend a few hours with them or a few minutes with them, right? You have that situation where you feel like, why do I just not like that person? It's just something about them, right? It's like that gut feeling. The gut feeling. Our other brain, right? So that's how I feel about certain government systems when I think about all the things that have not been done well historically. And one of those things in particular is this pandemic called adverse childhood experiences. The pandemic before this current pandemic. And so I have an attitude with certain systems because the same people that warned us about this 2020 or C-19 pandemic, the same people who warned us about that and who, man, boy, they put in some work. They put in some marketing work. Like, I just want to see the bill. I want to know, how much did all this cost? Like, overall, like how much has been spent on marketing this whole new pandemic? Because 900 and something thousand people have died or more. I stopped counting. I was one of those people back in the day that watched a certain news channel's ticker all day long, right? When this first went down. And so now I don't. So I do have an attitude with the system because if this thing was so bad, and work with me, right? They went out of their way to save the world. To save the world when this thing hit. They told us, give us a couple of days and we'll be back to normal. Give us a couple of days. Just stay in your houses for a little while and we'll be back to normal. I got an attitude with the system because do they know what the numbers look like in that normal that they say we trying to get back to? Things weren't very good then, and they sure ain't good now. So these entities, the same entity that has put out all of this information on C-19 is the same entity that put out information on adverse childhood experiences. However, if you compare the number of resources available as in regards to adverse childhood experiences, it gets a mention on that website, right? It gets kind of a mention. I'm being facetious, but it looks like a mention compared to what C-19 has gotten, right? So we know that this has been a pandemic since they first started talking about it in the 90s. It's like, ooh, y'all, we found some, ooh. And I mean, it just blew up. People just started talking about it in the scientific community. Scientific, not where it was happening, but in the scientific community. Yes, you heard me. So I do have an attitude with the system that continues to band-aid the obvious. If you can treat that thing as a pandemic just so that people can get back to normal, do you know that some of those people have to go back into their normal that they need to have gotten out of anyway? Some people don't want to go back to their normal because if you think about those some people, it is the children. The children who are being raised in these homes with parents or caregivers who have not heard about the adverse childhood experience study. But I guarantee you, I can walk up to anybody, except maybe some of those rural people that like don't even own TVs. Go up to anybody and ask them, hey, do you know what's going on with COVID? They gonna know, they gonna have some idea of what I'm talking about, even if it's not very detailed, right? It may be one of those people that just go with what they see on breaking news, right? But any person, because certain entities have done such a phenomenal job of getting the message out about this pandemic. The problem is we were in a pandemic before this pandemic, and because that pandemic was in line first, it should have had just as much marketing as this current pandemic. Because if it did, every parent in the world who's passing down ACEs by accident would have stopped. And every parent in the world who's passing down ACEs because they haven't addressed their own, so they don't know no other way, would stop if they knew it was going to interfere with how their child experienced their adulthood. That parent would walk away knowing that just saying I want my child to be happy, the buck doesn't stop there. There are things that has to happen in order for your child to be happy. Where is the marketing for that? Everybody would have known by now. And, let's let people choose to do what they will, right? But doing just as much as we did for that pandemic is crucial for the pandemic that was there before this one. Every person in the world, just like the pandemic that we're in right now, has heard about this at some level, even if they're a rural person that don't come out much. Every person in the world has heard about this. And you mean to tell me I can find somebody today and they can tell me more about C-19 than they can about adverse childhood experience study and the results? That seems like segregation of information. And that to me seems very unfair. A little information getting in every single neighborhood, like the crack pipes. The crack pipes are going to make it. Why come this information can't make it? You know how many people could be out there helping people who have ACEs and don't know that the reason why they own drugs is because of their ACEs? You don't know how withholding this information is keeping people from healing because they think it started with them, and it didn't. It didn't start with them, but they've lived in this body, going through this life, thinking they ain't about nothing. They so depressed. They catching bodies, both violently and sexually. They catching bodies. They drowning themselves in alcohol and drugs and weed and clubs and strippers and doing all of that stuff, trying to get that life. And they would do differently if they just knew a way out, if they just had somebody saying, okay, first do this. Set up help at every single Walmart, just like you did for the every CVS, every Walgreens. Give away lottery tickets for people to come learn about it. How about some basketball tickets? Y'all was giving away stuff. Find some celebrities to talk about this like you did for that. Get it on the late night shows. Have them do a skit where a kid's getting beat and the mama and the daddy drunk. Have them do a skit like that and then tell people there wasn't no laughing matter. Stephen Colbert. So when we notice where the marketing is going, we can clearly see what's important. We are in 2 years of this new pandemic where the whole globe was affected. And if I could spit the number out, I would. But I can tell you right now that many of the people that have succumbed to this thing in the pandemic, many of them, if not all, probably left taking their ACEs to the grave. Not even knowing that their ACEs probably cause their comorbidities. You trying to tell me that we don't have marketing dollars to be proactive for new pandemics like this? Maybe it won't fix everybody, but it sure won't hurt as many people as it did this time around. Everybody deserves to learn about them. And I haven't been able to find anybody to dispute that. Everything that we know about ACEs tells us that people who learn about this, especially in communities, because they need communities to get involved, because communities, we can't wait for the same system that's spending all their marketing dollars over here to come over here and help you. So we got to teach y'all how to do it. And maybe they'll see us and, want some credit and decide to kick us a few dollars. But right now we got to have communities stepping in to learn about this, right? We just need a few people to be the link that breaks the chain. Let's start with the ones who will listen. Let's craft the conversation for those who will listen. One more time. Let's craft the conversation for those who will listen. Happiness spreads. So does fear. But if you live in one of those cold East Coast states, and y'all out there and there's black ice, or you're walking on ice, and you got your partner or somebody right there next to you as y'all trying to get to the car after leaving the grocery store or wherever you done been, and you trying to just get to your car without falling on that ice. Would you rather have somebody next to you that's telling you, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, whatever you do, don't fall? Would you rather have that person in your ear or somebody in your ear saying, baby, you got this, we're going to be fine, let's go, we're going to keep walking, right? That's what it means to help reprogram a brain, reprogram somebody who's been through childhood adversities. All we have to do is help them change the way they think. Help them with their mindset about their situation. And show them the formula for getting out of that situation and being the link that broke the chain. So let's start there. Let's craft the conversation for those who will listen. So, I got an attitude with the system. See y'all next time.